Over the 8 months that I've been a creator, most of the advice I've gotten about starting and growing a YouTube channel has come from massive creators. There's a lot of advice about what you should and shouldn't do, and honestly, it can just get really overwhelming. So I'm going to help you cut through the crap. I am a small YouTuber. I started this January, and over the course of that time, I have amassed a whopping 876 subscribers. I'm also not going to pull the rug from under your feet and reveal that I'd actually had 6 YouTube channels before this. The only time I've had experience with a camera and editing was when I was 15 and I was making comedy skit videos on a webcam with my friends, and the editing just involved trimming it and uploading to YouTube. But I don't think that counts. In the first part of this video, I'm going to share with you the exact gear and systems that I used for the first 4 months, and then what I transitioned to when I started to outgrow that. And hopefully you can decide on the sliding scale what you want to do. Disclaimer, if you've been a YouTuber for a couple of years or you have a few thousand subscribers, part 1 is not for you. I'd forward on to part 2. When it comes to gear and tools, I use my iPhone 16 Pro Max and a tripod. That is it. I also just started a whole bunch of free trials of a variety of different editing platforms. I picked Final Cut Pro at the start, and they had a 90-day trial at the time, which was basically a free tool that I could use for the duration of my first couple of months. It was a steep learning curve, but ultimately I didn't really enjoy it, so I let that go. So first things first, getting started. Because I have variable energy and enthusiasm about anything I start, I knew that if I didn't have a runway of ideas planned, that I would give up as soon as I started to kind of falter. So the first thing I did was make a spreadsheet, and I'm going to show you that spreadsheet now. It did end up evolving over the first 4 months, but initially it was just an idea bank and then a schedule, basically indicating what video I would post each week, and I would move those around if I needed to. If you're at the stage where you don't really know what niche you're in, don't worry about that for now. Just dump a whole bunch of ideas you have in the idea bank and then take 10 of them and place them in clusters in some kind of cohesive order. I think the most important thing is that whatever video you make has to have an anchor rather than a niche. My anchor was that I quit a corporate career that I spent about a decade building because I wanted to redesign my life and fill it with things that I cared about. So I basically made a bunch of videos about my journey, about quitting corporate, starting a new business and sucking at that, and then the travel that I managed to interdisperse in between. Over time, I actually saw that people resonated more with my authentic takes on my journey rather than my travel experiences. So if you've been here from the start, you will have noticed that I do less of the travel stuff. And that's something that you can figure out as time goes on as well. The point of having a simple spreadsheet like this is, firstly, it's free. Secondly, it's not overwhelming. And thirdly, it gives you a runway, one of ideas and a schedule. That way, when life gets really busy or you lose motivation, you know that if you stick to it, you'll always be able to create your videos. Now that we have the gear and systems, how did I actually follow through? Well, I always knew my first video was going to suck, and it did. I'm going to be honest with you, I think the journey to getting good is just getting started and practicing and accepting that fact. Because I have quite variable energy, what I decided to do was loosely script my first 3 videos and sit down and film them in one go. That was overly ambitious. Setting up took 2 hours, and because I'd never done anything like this before, filming my first video took almost 3 hours. Setting that ambitious goal actually ended up overwhelming me, but over the next couple of weeks, every time I sat down, I was more efficient at setting things up, and I could film between 2 and 4 videos, depending on how I was feeling. After filming all my videos, I would upload them onto my computer into the relevant folders, and I would recommend creating a foldering system or it could get out of hand. Here's what mine looked like. And then one by one, I would edit each video and create a thumbnail in Canva, which would usually just involve me in my background with some very clear text on it. The less busy it is, the better it is, I've found. My first video edit took me 9 hours, and I was like, oh my God, if this is what it's going to be like forever, I don't know if I can do this. My next edit took me an hour less, and each time I made a video, my editing got faster and faster. By the end of my period with Final Cut Pro, it was taking me about 5 hours to edit a video, which isn't bad for a novice. But by the time I'd gotten to month 4, made about 17 videos and sort of understood what part of the process I enjoyed and I didn't, I started to make some changes. And for those joining us from early on in the video, we're now at part 2. You see, the iPhone, the tripod, Canva, Final Cut Pro, and the spreadsheet were doing fine, and they probably would have done fine for a longer time. But I had heard that there were editing tools out there that could halve your editing time because they used AI-based features like removing retakes, removing things like gaps in your speech, or even filler words. And that appealed because I just got tired of staring at an editing screen. A big YouTuber I watch called Vanessa Lau recommended a tool called Descript, and I knew it wasn't just a sponsored ad because I could see her using it in multiple videos over the course of a few years. So I downloaded a free trial, and it was so intuitive. I basically fell in love with it, and the most important part, it reduced my editing time to 3 hours per video. Guys, we've gone from 9 hours to 3 hours over the course of a 5 month evolution. That is massive. By month 6, I was way more confident speaking on camera, and my editing and general uploading process had sped up by 3x, which gave me much more time to think creatively about video ideas and plan even further ahead. But that's when my system for planning and scheduling videos started to weigh me down a little bit. Sometimes when things changed or I had an idea that was more urgent than some of the other ones, moving them around on Google Sheets became really difficult. So I started to look for other options, and I tried Notion at first, but sometimes because Notion is such a massive tool that gives you basically a blank page, it can become overwhelming. So I started to trial other platforms for essentially project management. Now, I'm going to be honest here. I think that unless you're running a business or multiple social channels, this might be overkill and also a little bit costly, especially if you're trying to run a lean journey. But because things were starting to get a little chaotic for me in terms of managing my business, my YouTube channel, and now jumping into short form, which follow me on Instagram and TikTok, by the way, if you want to see all that valuable content, I decided to invest in ClickUp. Also on the recommendation of Vanessa Lau, who is basically just a queen. And 5 years ahead of where I am, maybe even 10. I think it averages out to $8 a month, and for me it was worth it for what it could do for my brain, which is visualize all the different projects in a long-term calendar that you can also separate by business operations or the platform that you're using. So I have a section that shows me my operational tasks that I have to do, like script a video, film a video, and edit a video. And then I have a content plan for my short form content and my long form content, which you can see here. Now, you might have noticed that over the course of all of this, I still haven't upgraded my camera. And I don't intend to, because the quality is really clear, my YouTube channel is growing, and I don't see the point right now in investing in a £2,000 camera just to get a tiny bit more clarity or maybe a soft focus background. Especially if you're anywhere between month 6 and month 18, I don't think it's needed. My mum did buy me an Osmo Pocket 4 for my birthday last month so that I could vlog out and about. And honestly, that's mainly because she knew I really didn't want to take my iPhone and walk around the streets with it, and that it would be easier for me to continue my creator journey. So that was really sweet. But I don't see it as an essential component of starting and growing a YouTube channel. The most important thing for you to get right in your first year is the basics. It is a system that means that you can generate and schedule ideas long term, and then a really lean setup. So let's summarize. In your first 4 months, you only really need a phone, a tripod, Google Sheets, Google Docs, and a free trial of an editing software. If you've got a bit more budget, I would add on a microphone and Canva to that, and that is perfectly sufficient to keep you going for your first 12 months. When I hit the latter portion of the time I'd spent on YouTube, I transitioned to Descript because it saved so much time that it was invaluable for me, and I also added a lightbox to my gear. And last but not least, ClickUp. More relevant if you have a business and lots of other projects that you're working on, which has been a game changer for my chaotic brain. So there we have it. Some simple guidance to get going with your channel as a small YouTuber by a small YouTuber who's literally in the process right now. Once I've cheekily asked you to subscribe if you found this helpful and follow me on Instagram and TikTok if you want to see my content there, you know what I'm going to say. Get filming and start building your empire. Good luck, and I'll see you next Friday for another video.